Test, test. Test, test. Okay. All right, everybody. We're here in Tahunga, California. I have my good friend Emilio back here. He doesn't want to be on camera. Say hi, Emil. Hi. So we have an issue with a display panel here. It looks like there is no touch. I don't know if you can see this. So there is no touch response to any of the buttons. I haven't seen the refrigerator yet. This is the first time I'm seeing it. Emil called me and he said there was an issue with it. So I just went with my biggest assumption and I ordered the board. This is part number Whiskey Romeo 55 X-ray 347170. So this is this display panel here. This is for model number Charlie Yankee Echo 22 Uniforms Sierra Hotel Mike Sierra Sierra. I'll attach the other model numbers that it works for as well for this board, just so you guys can see the repair. So first things first, the first thing we always want to do is shut down power. I went down to the breaker panel a couple minutes ago and I saw that there wasn't any labeling on it. I didn't want to shut down everything, so we're going to pull it out. We have tile floors, so we don't have to use any gliders. It looks like it's in good condition, so we don't have to worry about scratching the floors. That's why you always want to do it the easier way. Go use the breaker, save yourself that liability. So we're going to pull it out. It's empty, so it should be fairly easy. All right, so we have the plug on the bottom right over here. We're just gonna unplug it. Perfect. All right, and yes, I am wearing Crocs. Pokemon Crocs. Why am I wearing Pokemon Crocs? Because I can. All right. So it looks like our wiring comes up from the top here. We're not going to check that because I don't think that's the issue. Emil advised me that looks like they were spraying something on the actual display, and after that, that's when we had the failure. So that's most likely what's going on. It's probably just related to that. Probably a short on the board. Take off this little Keurig. So this top panel slides off. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. So this one I'm talking about how these plastic components are super delicate. So you have to be really, really gentle with it. And you see you have 4 screws here that actually hold the display. And you could see like on these little clips right here. If you're not there, look how thin that is.
This is plastic.
It's like plastic and it's like chromed. Yeah. Can't express how many times we've been to customer's house. You just get there and it's like already all like these little scratches around everything and like broken because somebody tried to do something when they shouldn't have. And there's 2 little clips right underneath here. And this is the front display control.
So that's it.
That's it. It's a kid-friendly channel, okay?
Oh, sorry, dude.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, so this is the control board. Front assembly. Most likely, the control board is not going to come with this entire piece here. we're probably going to have to disassemble this quarter here. Looks like we have a couple Torx bits, and I guess T35, T30. There's a couple of them there. And I think the display board's underneath. You have the button board right here, and then this panel underneath looks like the display board, this one right here. So we have to disconnect these ribbon connectors. Probably bring it over here and do it. All right, so we're gonna open up this box. Let's make sure it's the correct part. Looks like it's packaged correctly. Looks like everything looks good with it. Oh, looks like they included the control panel buttons as well. So if you look at that, it looks like a pretty good match to me. They included this board down here as well, which you can see right there. You have the display panel. Biggest mistake people make when they replace these display panels, they forget to take off the screen protector. Do not forget to take off the screen protector. There's many issues with that. The biggest one is the screen can overheat, and sometimes you might have touch sensitivity issues. So it's just a little peel, just like an iPhone or something like that. Make sure to take that off before you're done. Use the plastic provided. I think this is a special type of plastic for control boards, so they don't short out. So just put it there while you're working on it. So we're gonna disassemble this panel. Looks like it's a T30, T25, no, smaller than that. Probably a T20, yeah, looks like a T20. Use a handheld, don't use an impact. I shouldn't have to tell people, but they still use impacts for a control board. You're gonna rip the solders apart. All right. There's a little white tab there. It's kind of tough. You wanna push it in, and then you pull it out, and it clips into that port. We're gonna take the speaker off. This is the speaker. All right, we're gonna take our Torx bolts out, so make sure we get the right ones. All right, so there's a little plastic panel. We'll put that back on afterwards. They all look like they're the same screws. I always like to put back, even when I first started doing appliance repair, this is a rookie thing to do, but whenever you take a screw out, put it back in where you got it from so you remember how to put it back together afterwards. It's a good technique, rookie or not. It's a good way to not lose anything. It's also in our favor that all the bolts are pretty much the same size. Well, they are the same size, so can't really go wrong. Gently take the panel off. All right. Now, let's see if there's any failure points. So we want to look for any burned conductors. I see some liquid here. I don't know if you guys can see that little smudge right there, but I don't see any burn marks. There's a display panel inside there, but I can't see that either. We'll give it over to Emil. Maybe you'll see some burn marks. There's a little bit of you can see the little smear right there, but I don't know if that's because this one doesn't really have that. All right, so this is a new board. want to make sure we put it in the right orientation. Remember, we're going to take that screen protector off because once we put it down, we can't take it off. Here's some satisfaction right there for the people that are into that. So the correct orientation is like this. This ribbon connector with the buttons needs to be pointed down, so it's actually bent incorrectly. We're going to stretch it out straight, rotate it gently. This. You leave it there, that's fine. And I'm going to push it back in. I'm going to fold these back over somewhat like this. And it's pretty forgiving, so if we need to make any adjustments, we can. The first screws we're going to screw in are going to be for that button panel. So you want to add a little bit of pressure downwards. You don't want to over tighten it, just enough to hold it. This doesn't need to be torqued to any spec or anything like that, just enough that it's tight. Now we're going to align this board. 2 hands, best way to do it. Lower it in, kind of like that. So the thing that's holding us back right now is you see this ribbon connector. Like I said, we're probably going to need to do some adjustments. So you're going to lift this ribbon connector back up. Add some downward pressure. Make sure it's seated properly. You don't want the customer calling you back and saying, oh, it's not aligned, this, that. I'm telling you, it will happen. So there you go, it's aligned. We'll adjust the ribbon connectors here in a second as well. I'm going to put a couple in just to hold it snug. Start from the center of the board. If you guys are interested in this tool, it's called a Work Pro. Looks like it's just some China-made tool. We are bougie, we have snap-on as well. Most of our tools are snap-on. But stuff that's ratcheting like this, I tend to see it break pretty often with the little micro gears inside, so I always opt for the cheaper one because you're gonna drop this and the gears inside are gonna shatter, and it's my recommendation. We'll have a link to this guy, if they still make it, in the description. So there's actually little sliding tabs inside there that kind of correspond to this plastic. This plastic is, from what I understand, is that if you are cleaning the screen or anything along those lines, and if you imagine that this board is like this and you have the refrigerator on the top of stainless steel, if you spray anything over here, that it doesn't drip down onto the actual screen and leave a smear on it. Obviously, it kind of screwed us anyway because the control board shorted out because of most likely a cleaning agent. But yeah, that's what this plastic is for. It's just kind of like a guard to deter any fluids that might be spilled up here to not go onto the board itself. That's all it's for. Everything looks like it's seated properly. Looks like the control panel here is seated properly as well. And also, I always try to double check, make sure that we have the right board. You know, you might install it, it might fit well, but always just double check, make sure there isn't much variation. The only difference that I did see is this screen actually looks a little bit different than this one. You can see that the difference here is there's a black underline here versus this one was like a stainless looking. That's probably just a rendition of like a different board that they sell now. That's not something I would really worry about. Another thing you could do is kind of try to reference these part numbers here or any serial board numbers. And we could tell it's a GE part. It's a Café refrigerator, so we know it's a GE component, but looks pretty identical to me. So we're gonna go plug it in. almost forgot our speaker. Try to keep it as OEM as possible here. They had like this wire, looks like going through here and going through here for whatever reason. And then it connected. That clicks in, and we'll bend this wiring harness, the ribbon connector, down as much as we can to keep the wiring away. We're gonna go plug it in. We're gonna plug the refrigerator in, see if it's working before we put everything back together. 90% sure this is a problem, but these GEs do have a control board on the back as well, which is unlikely to fail, but this is most likely what the issue is. All right, so here's the board. We have 2 connectors here. Well, this looks like an 8-pin, and then that's like a 3-pin. So can't really mess that one up. I'm gonna plug this in. Make sure the refrigerator is off when you do this. I always see contractors, you know, we go to their house, we go to a client's house, and they're like, oh, well, they just replaced this control board. I'm like, well, it's shorted out again. They're like, yeah, they were here, they said they replaced it, but they don't know what the problem is. After they replaced it, I was like, that they have the refrigerator on when they replaced the new board. And they're like, oh, I don't know. When we go, it's shorted out again. So I'm gonna plug it in real quick. Hopefully there's no explosions or anything. Right, Emil? All right, it's plugged in.
That light came on.
Yeah,
This thing blinked.
come on. All right. Crush, cube, temperature. Looks good to me.
And the
Coffee. Do you want to use like a cup or something? Yeah, let me, No, it's fine now. You can leave it on. All right, so we're gonna assemble it the same way we took it apart. Had these big 1/4-inch screws, bolts. Gonna go in slowly until it's snug. And slowly until it's snug. Don't just send it on these things. You're gonna tear everything apart. Go. I'm gonna give these one little. Don't need much on those. All right, this is our fascia panel. These tabs slide down and these click in from the top. So you're gonna put it in 1/4 way. There's a little trim tab over here as well, so make sure it gets behind there. Some forward pressure, click that one in, click this one in, and the back panel. There was a couple miscellaneous parts here that I took off that I didn't need to take off, but I always try to show my mistakes. There is these plastic light tabs, because I thought that's how it would come apart. I didn't realize this is how it was. Didn't show? There you go. There's like these plastic little light tabs, and then there's this cover here. Those just go on the bottom. Again, when you're doing repairs, there's nothing wrong with making educated mistakes, okay? Even someone that knows every single refrigerator, everything, they're gonna make mistakes too. So this little plastic tab goes into here. I was just seeing if there was probably any screws or anything underneath here. We're gonna pop that one in. And then there's the ones for the lights here. There's 2 little, looks like light panels here. They're just clear plastic panels. We're gonna pop these back in. And then this one as well on this opposite side. And then I took these off as well. Again, I was just doing some discovery, trying to see if there was any screws that I needed underneath here. So I'm going to put this trim panel back on the bottom here. Let me see if I need to zoom out a little bit. There we go, little trim panel down here. That's how it's supposed to go. There's a little plastic tab. There we go. And also there's a little push tab here. So this is if you wanted to remove this, you would push this. It's the same way you would put it in. Make sure it lines up with the insert here. There we go. This pulls out just like that. So we're gonna test functions. Ooh, a little Keurig. All right. You know this machine better than I do, Sean.
I don't, bro.
You don't? You thought you said you had this one.
No, I have the one that doesn't have this.
Oh, it doesn't have this? It's heating it up. It talks to you, man. I've never seen this, this unit specifically. This is the first time I've ever worked on like this exact type of unit. All right, so we just tested everything. We just tested the hot water. Looks like the dispenser is working. It's telling us to replace the pod and all that. But yeah, this thing comes out, has a little pod inside, which is super cool. But I always tell clients, I'm like, when you're buying a refrigerator, and they always say, what's the best refrigerator? I'm like, well, what's the best for you? If you want all of these gadgets and gizmos, then this is the best for you. But the more things it has, the more things can go wrong. So just keep that in mind. I always say if you want longevity, get something that has absolutely nothing. No display, no dispenser, no ice maker. The only thing that could really fail at that point is anything related to the cooling system. So we're all set. Everything's functional. We just did a function test, make sure the hot water was working. This has a Keurig system in it. Everything is functional before you saw. None of these buttons were touching, nothing was working. But now crush, cubed, or I'm on the wrong setting. Crush, cubed, everything's working. Let's check, we have water. Yep, we have water. Sorry, Emily, you just cleaned that. So we have water, we have ice, the crush motor. Everything is working inside there. So if you guys have any questions in regards to this repair, if you guys have a similar issue and you guys need some help or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to help. We are an appliance repair company, but at the end of the day, we always like to help people do DIYs. We are the company that if you don't want to do it, you send us out and we will do it for you. We build trust with these videos and we like to show everybody how to do it. So all set, we're gonna unplug the refrigerator and then we're gonna put it back into place and then plug it back in and that'll be the repair.